Hi, welcome back to Gloves Off Defense. Awareness is the single most important element of self-defense, so we're going to do a quick recap on the Cooper's color codes that we did last week. This gives you an indication of how aware you need to be in certain circumstances. In terms of techniques, we're going to continue with the strangle theme from last week, and we're going to do a strangle escape on the ground. We're also going to do escape from a bear hug, and also slip in the haymaker punch, otherwise known as the Saturday Nighter. Hope you enjoy it. In last week's episode, we took a first look at Cooper's color codes. They really give you an indication of different levels of awareness, and this is really important because if you're unaware, it's impossible for you to go from relaxed and unaware to dealing with the adrenaline rush of being attacked in 1 second. We can't do this. So really, Cooper's color codes are there to give us an indication of how we need to ramp up our level of awareness in different circumstances. So a very quick recap of those. Essentially, white is unaware. You might be at home, you might be chilling, you might be watching TV, reading a book. That's fine, you're in a completely secure environment and you can relax and switch off. The next level is yellow. This means that you are aware of your circumstances, but you're still relaxed. So really, if you're walking through a mall, something like that, you'd be sort of aware of things going on around you. You wouldn't be completely oblivious to what's going on, but you're pretty relaxed at the same time. The next one up is orange. Now, this could be where there's a potential threat, either in an environment like a mall where you see a suspicious character, or when you're in a slightly more dangerous area, like a channelized area, a corridor, a stairwell, possibly something like a car park, a transition point. Really, at those times, you need to be a little bit more aware of your surroundings, so there's a possible threat. The next one is red. If you're in red, you're in a situation where there's someone that is a definite threat. There's no possible about it anymore. Someone's coming at you with something. It's a bad situation. There's a very definite threat approaching. And then black. Black is really you're actually involved in a fight. You're fighting for your life. You're fighting to protect your family. So we need to understand how we need to increase our levels of awareness as we go about our daily life. Why is this? Because of adrenaline. Adrenaline is an incredible thing. It's something that we've evolved to have to give us the ability to either fight or flight. To either stand, hold our ground and fight the person that's attacking us, or the beast that's attacking us, or run away. When adrenaline kicks in, it does a number of things. It makes your heart beat faster to get more oxygen to your limbs and to your brain. It takes your vision and makes it more tunnel-like so that you can focus on a single point of attack. It sort of takes away some of the blood also from some of the extremities and pulls them in towards your vital organs. So there's a number of things that adrenaline can do to you. Now, it can be a positive or a negative thing. Certainly in the mixed martial arts world, you can see it really sometimes gas guys out. They go and step inside the cage and their heart's going like this, and the crowd and everything else. It makes them very nervous, and it makes their energy go twice as fast because their heart's beating twice as fast. There's all this nervous energy. Everything is very tense because of the fight or flight mechanism, and they lose their energy very quickly. So we need to understand adrenaline and how it works. And really, if you can understand it, you can understand that you really need to take one step at a time, because we can't go to being completely relaxed to being attacked by a guy with a bottle. It's impossible to do. So the important thing to remember is when you're out and about, be aware of your surroundings. Don't be paranoid the whole time, that's not necessary, but certainly understand how aware you need to be in certain circumstances. It's a very important concept, and it could allow you to keep calm under pressure and save your life. So a very common scenario, particularly amongst guys, is a haymaker punch. Well, first of all, what's a haymaker punch? It's generally what you see when someone perhaps is unskilled in terms of striking. It's like an unskilled hook, if you like. But they're trying to put their whole body weight behind this punch. And you see it a lot. I mean, you'll see it at nightclubs, at 2 a.m., something like that. You'll see guys fighting each other outside. And this is the sort of scenario. So, what you're looking at is one guy here. And how do we know it's a haymaker? It's because they're rotating through and they're putting all of their body weight behind this one punch. They're absolutely committed to that knockout. So everything's behind it. Now that's good and bad news at the same time. The good news is that if someone's rotating to throw a punch like this, it's very slow and it can be read. The bad news is all of the body weight is behind this punch, so if it does connect, you're in trouble. So it's interesting when you look at how different martial arts deal with this same topic. Now, in terms of karate, you might see guys that are blocking. So there's a big punch comes from that side, they're blocking, they're throwing a counter strike here, or perhaps coming through here and looking for a lock, whatever it may be. Now that's fine. But if my opponent is bigger and stronger than me, then I'm going to be in trouble. So if I'm here and I try to block and this is a big powerful punch and I try to block, I'm probably going to get knocked over anyway. So let's respect the punch. Let's consider, rather than dealing with the strike, let's avoid it altogether. How do we do that? We do that by slipping the haymaker punch. Now, if I'm here, first of all, my opponent here is within striking distance now. I'm obviously pretty concerned about this distance, so my hands need to be fairly close to my face anyway. And what we're going to do is this. Okay, we're going to end up here. We've closed the distance, we've got into a clinch, and we're safely with our head on the back here. You're safe from strikes from here, and then we can possibly look at a takedown. So really, we're not trying to absorb the punch, we're trying to slip it all together, and that's an important concept here. How do we do that? Well, first of all, let's look at the arms, okay, and the hands. If I'm here and I'm slipping underneath the punch, my arm's going to come up to protect, my jaw is going to drop down, but my hand is going to slide up over the top of my head. The reason for that is if I'm here and I'm high, the punch isn't going to slip over the top. It can strike here and I can be in trouble anyway. So we're looking at coming to here so that if it does strike, it still can slip over the top. And that's an important concept. We need to get to the outside of this fist if we're going to do anything from here. But also at the same time, we need to do a little bit of a level drop. If you look right now, Sinja's a little bit taller than me, but essentially from here, I'm in danger of this punch and it's coming at this level. To come underneath the arm, I need to drop my level. There's a right way and a wrong way to do that. The wrong way is like this. Okay, and you can see exactly why just there. The correct way is here. Okay, I've bent my knees. That enables me to achieve this level drop while still having reasonably good posture, still standing in base, and being able to deal with things. So, I don't want to be looking at the ground. Certainly don't want to be looking at a knee that's coming in my direction. So this level drop is fairly straight. Your upper torso is upright. Okay, so nice and slow here. Then a step around. Now if you look at my feet position now, I'm sort of at 90 degrees. I'm stood in base. I'm grabbing around the hips here. My hands, there's a couple of different variations. And what's fairly nice from here is if you can grip your hands like this. This is called an S grip. This enables us later on to do a nice takedown from here. But the hook grip can also work if you grab your own wrist this way around. Certainly what you don't want to do is this. This is called a C-clamp, and there's a weakness in the grip here. So Sinja wants to push my arm away from here. There's very little I can do to stop him. But here with a hook grip, very difficult. And also here with the Nest grip, pretty tricky. By the time he tries to work this grip, we've already taken him down to the ground. Now obviously in self-defense, you might say, I don't want to be on the ground. And that's completely valid. In a lot of circumstances, if there's lots of guys around, being on the ground might not be the best place to be. But if you don't do something about this haymaker punch, you're going to be on the ground and you're going to be knocked out. So it's worth considering. And certainly if it does go to ground, if you're on top, you're in a position to get up and run away, whereas the other person's stuck underneath you, so that we can work from there. This week we're going to have a look at home security. After all, what's the point in being able to defend yourself if you're not in a safe environment to begin with? So with that in mind, if you move to a new home, always change your locks. We don't know who has the previous keys. Also, when you're looking at your alarm system in your new home, are the wires concealed? If not, is there any way you can conceal them? Because a burglar is going to be looking to cut those wires as soon as he can. It's also nice to look like you're in all of the time, even if you're not. So for that reason, you can get lighting timers that will randomly switch your lights on and off when you're not at home. Have you got a spare key? If so, do you hide it somewhere? Well, the place that's most obvious to you is probably most obvious to someone else as well. So don't put it underneath the mat or in a flower pot by the front door. Hide it somewhere a little bit different, somewhere that only you know where it is. It's going to be a lot safer there. Let's say someone wants to come in for an emergency. Someone knocks on your door and they need a breakdown truck when they need to call the police for something. Don't let them in. It's okay to be a good Samaritan. You can help them out, but lock the door, make the phone call for them, and tell them afterwards. That way you're going to be safe as well. Look at your front garden. Have you got any bushes or hedgerows? These sort of things make very good cover for a prospective burglar, so it's worth taking that into account when you're doing your gardening. Dogs are great for home security, and not necessarily even a guard dog. Even smaller dogs that make a lot of noise are going to be a good deterrent for burglars. It's always worth having security lights around your property. They don't have to cost too much in terms of electricity. You could have them on a timer or a light sensor, but they'll illuminate your front and back gardens when you're not around or when you're asleep, and this is a great deterrent for a burglar. It's always a good exercise to walk down your street in front of your house. If you look in towards your house and look through a window, what can you see? If you can see your new 50-inch flat TV, then so can a burglar. Everyone knows what a safe looks like. So perhaps you can consider hiding your valuables somewhere different, or even buy a safe that looks like an electrical socket. Anything that isn't too obvious is good. A great way to test your home security is to lose your keys. If you can't find your keys and you need to get into your own house, it's going to force you to take exactly the same steps as a burglar would. You'll end up looking around, you'll end up checking windows, you'll end up checking doors. You'll think in the same way that anyone else would in terms of trying to get into your own home, and that's a great exercise to go through. The good news is the harder it is for you, the harder it is for someone else. Consider what someone can see outside your window. Blinds are a great way to limit their field of view so that you can hide valuables. Always remember to lock your doors at night, but don't leave the key in the lock. If someone could smash through some glass to get to the key, then they're going to be able to get into your house. Always check your sliding doors. It's good to have locks on them if you can, but remember some sliding doors can be lifted with a screwdriver. It will take a thief 2 minutes to lift some sliding doors out, and then you might as well not have the key in the first place. Good security is about good habits, so when you go out, have a quick look round and just make sure everything's as it should be. Another good habit to get into is having a quick security check at night. Have a quick look around your house, check the doors and the windows, and make sure it's an environment that you're happy to go to sleep in. Some of you may be wondering why we haven't actually included any attacks in the program yet. After all, if someone's attacking you, why not attack them back? Well, that's a valid response, but we need to consider a few things. First of all, if someone is attacking you, 9 times out of 10, they're going to be bigger and stronger than you are. After all, if someone is on a power trip and they're a bully or whatever the situation is, they're probably going to pick on someone that's smaller than them. So if the two of you started trading punches, then by default that person is going to have a heavier punch because there's more weight that goes behind it. Also, every time that your hands are away from your face and you're looking to strike or something like that, you're actually unprotected around here, which means there's also an increased opportunity of you getting knocked out yourself. And that for self-defense is a terrible situation to be in. Another thing to understand is when you see a boxing match, you see 2 guys or girls and they're going at it for 12 rounds, okay? They're throwing punches left, right, all the way through. The gloves that are on their hands, they're not there to protect the other person's jaw or the other person's face. They're there to protect their hands, and that's for good reason. If you strike with your fist against someone's jaw, there's a good chance you're going to break your knuckles. That's why when it comes to striking for self-defense, it's much better to use elbows and knees. So there's a number of valid reasons why the majority of self-defense is about defending and protecting yourself and removing yourself from the situation, as opposed to standing and fighting and trading punches with someone. Last week we looked at some strangle escapes. We're going to continue that theme this week, except this time you're going to be on the ground. So, first of all, let's look at this position. If I'm stuck underneath here, this is a terrible place for me to be. From here, this person can punch me, they can do whatever they want. It's very difficult for me to do very much back from here. And we're looking at this strangle. Now, particularly for women, this is going to be a useful technique to use. So, if you look at the arms here that are around my throat, if I was to try and push Amy off right now, all she's going to do is base out with this hand. So we're going to do something called the ep2 escape, otherwise known as the trap and roll. And what we're going to do is trap this arm and trap this leg so that Amy can't stop herself from being rolled over. And it goes like this. Then you can run away. Let's break that down a little bit. Right, from this position, first thing we need to do is to trap this arm. You're going to come underneath the other arm and you're going to make a hook grip, thumb glue to fingers like this. We don't want to grab this way, Amy can pull out from there, so we're here. Now we're going to grab over the back of the tricep here. We don't want to be this way, this is weak, elbow too far from the torso. This is the best way, with the elbows tucked in. Got a nice strong grip on this arm now. So from here, I'm going to need to trap the leg. So my knee is going to angle out. I'm going to slide my foot up. Now I'm trapping the leg as well. From this position, all you're going to do is lift your hips towards the sky and then roll over your shoulder. Okay. A couple of extra details here. A few things we need to watch out for. First of all, I don't want to grab over the top of this arm because Amy can just lever it off. When I do grab, I must make sure I grab like this, not here, because Amy can pull her arm out from there, this way around. Next, imagine you're holding a cup of water, a glass of water here. Everything's nice and tight. But right now, let's say your opponent is bigger, stronger than you. You're not going to have the muscle or the energy or the strength to actually roll them directly in this direction. Very difficult. Instead, we want to use our hips. So we lift the hips up. That takes your opponent's body weight off of you and in this direction. And they end up actually pulling you over. So from here, the important thing is my foot here is nice and high. I lift my hips up. Only when we get to here shall I think about rolling sideways, throw the leg over, come into this top position. From here, keep your chin tucked in, okay, because you don't want to get struck from here, and then we can get up and run away. I'm not saying any martial arts are bad. All I'm saying is you need to train for the circumstances you expect to be in. So if you're looking at a sport, then you train for that sport. But if you're looking at self-defense, you need to train for self-defense. And that's an important concept. Because if you're expecting the other person to work within a certain set of rules, then that isn't going to happen. The days of Queensberry rules and duels are long over. And to be honest, if you get attacked, it's not going to be when the odds are in your favour. It's not even going to be when the odds are equal. Generally, if you'll be attacked, it'll be more than one person against you. It'll be they're carrying weapons and you're not. It could be that you're female and they're male. It could be they've come from behind. It could be you've walked into a place where you can't escape from. So certainly when it comes to self-defense, all different circumstances need to be taken into account and not just sportive scenarios. In terms of common attacks, if you've managed to end up in a position where you're fairly close to your assailant and we have no choice, then there's a number of things they might do. Obviously there's things like the haymaker punch. Also bear hugs. Now this is particularly useful for a woman against a man, something like that. Sometimes someone just wants to control you and grab you and drag you off somewhere, whatever it may be. So we're going to look at a couple of bear hug defenses now. There are 4 types of bear hug. Under the arms, in fact let me show you here. Under the arms, over the arms in front, under the arms in front. Okay, so those are the 4 types of bear hugs. We're going to look at now the 2 variations where their arms are underneath yours. So firstly, we're going to look at the variation here where my attacker is close, got me in a bear hug here. Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to drop my level a little bit. I'm stood in base, as we can see, my knees are nice and bent. I'm here. I get my hands underneath his chin. There is another variation here with a frame. Either way, I'm going to get underneath the chin. I'm going to drive in that direction. So I'm pushing his chin upwards, and at the same time, I'm stepping back on my foot. Here. Okay. You're sort of rounding your back as you step back to create more space, and you're driving upwards. It's very difficult for someone to maintain their grip when their head's being pushed back. And it's a really important concept. Very, very useful. So, here. So he's got that nice tight grip around my back. This is going to be a problem for me. Come underneath. Now, if for example, you can't get your hand underneath here, just bring your arm through and make a frame. We're going to do exactly the same thing now. We're going to drive up, but you're using the blade of your forearm instead. Here. Once you get to here, I've rounded the back, I've released the grip, I've driven his head upwards. I'm going to use the Nike technique and run away. Common mistake with this is trying to push outwards instead of upwards. What we're actually looking for isn't this. We're looking for this. This movement of the head upwards is what's going to release the hands. Because no one can keep their grip here as their head's being pushed back. So that's going to be key from there. In terms of the legs, really emphasize this step. Boom, it's a big step backwards. You're trying to create as much space as you can between here and here or here. Thanks for watching. If there's something in particular you'd like covered or a question you'd like answered, drop me a line and we'll see if we can put it in one of the episodes.